The morning sun barely reached the dark side of Haven, humanity's first colony beyond the solar system. Jack Stone stood at the edge of the settlement's perimeter, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. His worn boots crunched against the frost-covered grass as he adjusted the settings on his wildlife scanner. Base, this is Stone. Starting my morning patrol, he spoke into his communicator, his voice steady despite the early hour. The response came back with a crackle of static. Copy that, Stone. Remember to stay within the safe zone today. We've had some strange readings from the dark side. Jack smiled to himself. The safe zone was more of a suggestion than a rule to him. After 3 years as Haven's leading wildlife specialist, he knew every inch of this frontier world, or at least he thought he did. As he walked along the border between light and shadow, his scanner picked up something unusual. The readings showed a massive heat signature, far larger than any creature they'd documented on Haven. What caught his attention wasn't just the size, but the pattern of movement, calculated, precise, almost intelligent. That's not possible, he muttered, double-checking the readings. The colony had cataloged every major species on Haven, or so they believed. Nothing in their database matched these readings. His curiosity got the better of him. Jack took his first step into the darkness, switching on his helmet lights. The shadows seemed to move around him, dancing at the edge of his vision. His heart raced with excitement rather than fear. The scanner's beeping grew more intense as he moved deeper into the darkness. Then he saw it, a flash of movement, too quick and too large to be anything they'd encountered before. Instead of retreating, Jack crouched down and remained still. Minutes passed in complete silence. Then, slowly, a massive shape emerged from the shadows. The creature was beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek black scales that seemed to absorb light, powerful muscles rippling beneath its skin, and eyes that glowed with an inner intelligence. It was at least twice the size of Earth's largest predators. Jack's training kicked in. He remained motionless, controlling his breathing, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. To his surprise, the creature didn't attack. Instead, it tilted its head, studying him with those glowing eyes. "You're curious too, aren't you?" Jack whispered. The creature's head snapped up at the sound of his voice, but still, it didn't attack. Instead, it took a step closer, its movement silent despite its massive size. Jack's scanner was going crazy, picking up complex electromagnetic patterns emanating from the beast. Then something extraordinary happened. The creature sat back on its haunches, mimicking Jack's crouched position. It was a deliberate action, one that spoke of intelligence far beyond basic animal instinct. "Base, this is Stone," he said softly into his communicator, never breaking eye contact with the creature. "You're going to want to hear this. I've just made first contact with what I believe is a shadow stalker." The response was immediate and panicked. "Get out of there now. Shadow stalkers are Class 10 predators. They've wiped out entire civilizations." But Jack didn't move. He saw something in those glowing eyes that the stories had missed. The creature wasn't showing aggression, it was showing curiosity. Just like the wolves that humans had first domesticated thousands of years ago, this creature was reaching out in its own way. "Negative, Base. I'm staying right here. There's something different about these creatures. They're not what everyone thinks they are." He slowly reached out his hand, palm up, in a gesture of peace. The shadow stalker looked at his hand, then back at his face. Slowly, deliberately, it moved forward, its massive head lowering until it was just inches from Jack's outstretched hand. In that moment, on the dark side of Haven, history was about to change. Humanity was about to prove once again why they were different from every other species in the galaxy. They didn't just survive alongside dangerous creatures, they understood them. 3 days after Jack's discovery, the skies above Haven lit up with the arrival of 5 massive ships. Their sleek, silver hulls reflected the colony's sunlight, creating artificial rainbows across the morning sky. The Galactic Council had arrived, and they weren't happy. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Council Member Bright said, his tall, slender form towering over the colony's conference table. His silvery skin shimmered with stress patterns, a clear sign of agitation among his species. "These creatures have destroyed entire civilizations." Colony Administrator Tom Wells sat calmly across from him, his weathered face showing no sign of fear. "With all due respect, Council Member, we've been coexisting with the Shadow Stalkers for 3 days now. No casualties, no attacks." The other council members, representatives from the 4 most powerful alien species in the galaxy, exchanged worried looks. Their expressions ranged from disbelief to outright horror. 3 days. Council Member Bright's voice rose. The Zentari Empire lasted 3 months before the Shadow Stalkers wiped them out. The Krell Dominion didn't even last a week. You must evacuate immediately. Jack Stone, standing quietly in the corner of the room, finally stepped forward. "I'd like to show you something," he said, activating the room's holographic display. "This is footage from yesterday." The display came to life, showing the dark side of Haven. In the footage, 3 Shadow Stalkers were helping human workers move heavy equipment, using their incredible strength with surprising gentleness. One of them, the first one Jack had met, was even playing with some colony children, carefully rolling a massive metal ball back and forth with its tail. The council members watched in stunned silence. "Impossible," whispered one of them, their 4 eyes blinking rapidly in succession. "They're apex predators. Natural killers." "They're intelligent beings," Jack corrected. "Like the wolves and big cats we once domesticated on Earth, they're complex creatures capable of forming bonds. They don't attack without reason." Council Member Bright slammed his hand on the table. "We're not talking about your primitive Earth predators. Shadow Stalkers have technological civilization-ending potential. Their electromagnetic fields can disable our most advanced ships." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the colony. A voice came over the intercom. "Unknown ships approaching." "They're not responding to hails." Everyone rushed to the windows. 3 dark vessels, their hulls covered in weapons, dropped out of light speed above Haven. Space pirates, the scourge of the frontier worlds. "We need to evacuate," one of the council members said urgently. "Those are Ravager ships. Even our council vessels can't stand against them in a direct fight." But Jack was already running outside. Administrator Wells followed him, leaving the stunned council members behind. They reached the colony's central square just as the pirate ships began their attack run. What happened next left everyone speechless. From the dark side of Haven, dozens of Shadow Stalkers emerged, led by Jack's friend, now named Thunder by the colony's children. They moved with purpose. As the pirates' first energy blast approached the colony, the Shadow Stalkers acted as one. Their electromagnetic fields combined, creating a shield that not only blocked the attack but reflected it back at the attackers. The pirates, clearly not expecting such defense, tried to retreat. But the Shadow Stalkers weren't finished. Their combined electromagnetic pulse disabled the pirate ship's engines, forcing them to land. Within minutes, the threat was over. The pirates were captured, their ships disabled, and the colony was safe, all without a single shot fired by the humans or the council ships. Council Member Bright stood in the square, watching as the Shadow Stalkers calmly returned to their side of the planet, some of them playfully nudging human children as they passed. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we have more to learn about these creatures, and about humans." Administrator Wells smiled. "We'd be happy to teach you. After all, sometimes the most dangerous-looking creatures make the best allies. We humans learned that lesson a long time ago." The research lab at Haven Colony buzzed with activity. 1 week after the pirate attack, scientists from both Earth and the Galactic Council worked side by side, studying the remarkable relationship between humans and Shadow Stalkers. Jack Stone stood before a large display screen, pointing to various brain scan images. "Look at these patterns," he said to the mixed group of human and alien researchers. "When humans interact with Shadow Stalkers, Both species show increased activity in regions associated with empathy and social bonding. Dr. Miller, the colony's head scientist, added her own findings. It's similar to what happened on Earth thousands of years ago. When humans first began domesticating wolves, both species developed deeper emotional connections. We evolved together. The alien scientists looked confused. Council member Bright, who had stayed to learn more, spoke up. But how can you be sure these creatures won't turn on you? Our historical records show them as pure killing machines. Jack switched the display to show footage from his morning routine. On the screen, he sat quietly with Thunder, the massive shadow stalker, as they watched Haven's sunrise together. The creature's electromagnetic field, visible through special cameras, pulsed in sync with Jack's calm heartbeat. They're not killing machines, Jack explained. They're social creatures with complex emotions. The reason they attacked other civilizations was fear and misunderstanding. Everyone else treated them like monsters, so they responded with aggression. A young human researcher named Tom walked in, excitement clear on his face. "You need to see this," he said, connecting his tablet to the main screen. "We've decoded part of their electromagnetic language." The display filled with waves and patterns. To the aliens, it looked like meaningless static, but Jack and the human scientists leaned forward with interest. "These patterns," Tom explained, "they're almost identical to how wolves and dogs communicate with each other and humans. Body language, emotional states, pack hierarchy. It's all there, just using electromagnetic pulses instead of physical signals." Dr. Miller nodded enthusiastically. "That's why humans can understand them. We've spent thousands of years learning to read subtle animal cues. While other species focused purely on technology, we were developing the ability to communicate with non-human intelligence." To demonstrate, Jack pulled up more footage. This time, it showed children from the colony playing with younger shadow stalkers. The kids instinctively understood when the creatures wanted to play, rest, or be left alone, just like they would with a dog or cat. "Remarkable," Council member Bright whispered. "In all our advanced civilization's history, we never considered simply befriending them." Just then, Thunder walked into the lab, ducking his massive head through the doorway. Instead of running in fear, the alien scientists watched in amazement as the creature gently approached Jack, its electromagnetic field projecting waves of what they now recognized as affection. "Watch this," Jack said. He made a simple hand gesture, and Thunder responded by carefully picking up a research tablet in his mouth and bringing it to one of the alien scientists. The council member took it with trembling hands. "The gesture I just made," Jack explained, "it's similar to how we train Earth dogs." The shadow stalkers picked it up instantly because they recognize the intent behind the motion. They understand us on an instinctive level, just as we understand them. Dr. Miller stepped forward. "This is just the beginning. Think about it. Humans have successfully domesticated dozens of species on Earth. Dogs, cats, horses, birds. Each one required us to learn their unique way of communicating. We didn't force them to adapt to us. We adapted to them." Thunder made a low rumbling sound, his electromagnetic field pulsing with patterns that the machines now translated as contentment. Several of the alien scientists found themselves unconsciously relaxing in the creature's presence. "That's why humans are different," Jack concluded. "We don't see dangerous beasts to be conquered. We see potential friends who just need to be understood. And sometimes, the most dangerous creatures make the most loyal companions." The dark side of Haven was unusually quiet that morning. Jack Stone stood at the edge of a clearing, his breath visible in the cold air. Thunder, the massive shadow stalker, sat beside him. Today was different. Today, they would attempt the first official bonding ceremony. "Are you sure about this?" Administrator Wells asked through Jack's communicator. Back at the colony, dozens of humans and aliens watched through camera feeds, their hearts racing with anticipation. "Trust me," Jack replied calmly. He turned off his communicator and looked at Thunder. Ready, big guy. The Shadow Stalker's electromagnetic field pulsed with what they now knew was excitement. In the 2 weeks since the research began, they had learned that Shadow Stalkers had a special bonding ritual within their own packs. No other species had ever been invited to participate. Until now. Thunder stood up, his full height impressive even after all this time. He made a low rumbling sound and walked to the center of the clearing. Jack followed, carrying no weapons or protective gear. Trust had to be absolute for this to work. "Okay," Jack whispered, "show me how it's done." Thunder's scales began to glow softly, creating patterns of light that danced across his body. The electromagnetic field around him grew stronger, forming visible waves in the air. He lowered his massive head to Jack's level, eyes glowing with intelligence. Back at the colony, the scientists' instruments were going crazy. "These readings are off the charts," Dr. Miller reported excitedly. "The electromagnetic field is 10 times stronger than anything we've recorded before." In the clearing, Jack felt a gentle pressure in his mind. The Shadow Stalker's electromagnetic fields weren't just for communication. They could create deep mental connections, sharing emotions and memories. This was why other species feared them. This was why they attacked when afraid. A scared Shadow Stalker could accidentally project their fear into nearby minds, creating panic. But Jack wasn't afraid. He remained calm, accepting the connection. Suddenly, his mind filled with images. Thunder's memories. He saw the Shadow Stalker's life through his eyes. Playing with siblings, learning to hunt, watching the strange 2-legged creatures build their colony. He felt Thunder's curiosity, his initial fear, and then his growing trust. Thunder saw Jack's memories too. He understood now why humans were different. He saw Earth's wolves becoming dogs, wildcats choosing to live with humans, horses carrying riders on their backs. He felt the deep bond between humans and their animal companions, built on trust and mutual respect. The connection grew stronger. Jack raised his hand slowly, palm forward, not as a trainer commanding a pet, but as an equal offering partnership. Thunder pressed his snout against Jack's palm, and the bond was complete. The electromagnetic field exploded with light and color. Both human and Shadow Stalker gasped as their minds synchronized. They weren't master and beast. They were partners, friends, family. "Amazing," Council Member Bright whispered, watching from the colony. "In all our studies, we never realized they weren't attacking out of aggression. They were trying to connect, to understand." The light show faded, but the bond remained. Jack could feel Thunder's presence in his mind, a warm, friendly consciousness sharing his thoughts. Thunder rumbled happily, his electromagnetic field pulsing with joy. Other Shadow Stalkers emerged from the darkness, their own fields glowing with interest. They had witnessed the successful bond, and now they wanted to try. Back at the colony, several humans stepped forward, volunteering to be next. "This changes everything," Dr. Miller said, wiping tears from her eyes. "We didn't just make first contact. We've become family." Jack smiled as Thunder playfully nudged him with his massive head. The Shadow Stalker's electromagnetic field carried a clear message that all the humans nearby could feel. Welcome to the pack. The age of fear was over. The time of understanding had begun. And once again, humanity's greatest strength proved to be not their technology or their weapons, but their ability to turn the galaxy's most feared predators into their most trusted friends. Red warning lights flashed across Haven Colony's control room. Administrator Wells stared at the main screen in horror as dozens of red dots appeared, heading straight for the planet. Meteor shower incoming. The colony's AI announced. Impact in 15 minutes. Size and velocity indicate catastrophic damage potential. Council Member Bright, who had stayed to study the human Shadow Stalker bonds, turned pale. "Our ships can't stop that many, even if we combine our shields." Jack burst into the control room, Thunder right behind him. Through their bond, they had both felt the colony's panic. "How bad?" Jack asked, quickly scanning the displays. Bad, Wells replied grimly. The meteors will hit both the colony and the dark side. We don't have enough ships or time to evacuate. Thunder's electromagnetic field pulsed with determination. Through their mental link, Jack suddenly understood the Shadow Stalker's plan. We don't need to evacuate, he said, eyes widening. We need to fight. Without waiting for permission, Jack ran outside with Thunder. The Shadow Stalker let out a powerful roar that echoed across the planet. Within minutes, hundreds of Shadow Stalkers emerged from the dark side, their scales glowing with purpose. What are they doing? Dr. Miller asked, watching from the control room. Jack's voice came through the communicator. Remember how they combined their electromagnetic fields to stop the pirate ships? They can do much more than that. But they need our help to focus their power. The bonded humans understood immediately. They rushed out to join their Shadow Stalker partners. The aliens watched in amazement as humans and beasts stood together, facing the incoming threat. The first meteors became visible in Haven's sky, burning trails of fire through the atmosphere. Thunder took the lead, raising his massive head. Other Shadow Stalkers formed a circle around the colony, their electromagnetic fields beginning to pulse in sync. Everyone together, Jack shouted. The bonded humans placed their hands on their Shadow Stalker partners, strengthening the mental connection. Through their combined bond, they could feel the incredible power building. A massive dome of electromagnetic energy formed over the colony, spreading to cover both the light and dark sides of Haven. The first meteor struck the shield and shattered into harmless dust. Impossible, Council Member Bright whispered. The energy readings, they're higher than anything we've ever recorded. More meteors hit the shield. The Shadow Stalkers growled with effort, their scales glowing brighter. The humans grimaced, helping their partners focus the enormous energy. Through their bonds, they shared their strength, their determination, their will to protect their home. Thunder's voice echoed in Jack's mind. Together, Pax survives. For 10 intense minutes, the meteors rained down. Each impact tested the shield, but the combined power of humans and Shadow Stalkers held strong. The aliens watched in awe as the most feared predators in the galaxy worked in perfect harmony with the humans to save everyone, including those who had once feared them. When the last meteor dissolved against the shield, exhausted humans and Shadow Stalkers collapsed together. There wasn't a single casualty. The colony, the dark side, everything was safe. In the control room, Council Member Bright turned to Administrator Wells. In all our history, he said quietly, we've never seen anything like this. We thought they were monsters, but with humans. He paused, watching as Shadow Stalkers gently helped their tired human partners to their feet. With humans, they're heroes. Jack sat against Thunder's side, both of them breathing heavily. Through their bond, they shared feelings of triumph, relief, and deep friendship. Other bonded pairs around them did the same, their electromagnetic fields glowing with joy and exhaustion. That's the thing about humans, Administrator Wells said, smiling at the scene. We don't see monsters. We see potential. And sometimes, the greatest heroes are found in the most unexpected places. The crisis had passed, but it had proven something important. Humans and Shadow Stalkers weren't just coexisting. They were stronger together than either species had ever been alone. 2 months after the meteor shower, Haven Colony looked very different. New buildings stood tall against the skyline, their design a unique blend of human and Shadow Stalker architecture. The most impressive was the newly completed Interstellar Beastmaster Academy. Jack stood at the Academy's entrance, Thunder by his side, watching as ships from across the galaxy landed. Each carried brave volunteers from different species, all hoping to learn the human way of bonding with dangerous creatures. Never thought I'd see this day, Administrator Wells said, joining them. 20 different alien species, all here to learn from humans. Through their bond, Thunder shared Jack's pride and amusement. The mighty Shadow Stalkers, once feared across the galaxy, were now eager teachers alongside their human partners. The first class gathered in the Academy's main hall. The room was specially designed to accommodate beings of all sizes, from the tiny moss-like Florins to the towering crystal luminarians. At the front, Jack stepped up to the platform with Thunder. "Welcome to the first day of Beastmaster training," Jack began. "You're here because you want to understand the galaxy's most dangerous creatures. But first, you need to understand something more important: yourself." He gestured to the wall behind him, where images of Earth's history played. Wolves becoming dogs, wildcats choosing human homes, horses carrying riders, birds landing on outstretched hands. "Humans didn't conquer these creatures," Jack explained. "We didn't force them to change. We learned to understand them, to speak their language, to become their family." A young luminarian raised their crystal arm. "But how can we bond with shadow stalkers? We're not human. We don't have your special abilities." Thunder stepped forward, his scales glowing softly. Through their bond, he asked Jack to share their connection with the class. Jack nodded. "Everyone, please stay calm," Jack said. Then he and Thunder released a gentle wave of their combined electromagnetic field. The aliens gasped as they felt the edge of the human-shadow stalker bond. They experienced the trust, the friendship, the deep understanding between the two species. "This isn't about being human," Jack said as the field faded. "It's about being willing to learn, to trust, and to understand." Shadow stalkers can bond with any species that approaches them with an open mind and an open heart. To prove his point, several more shadow stalkers entered the hall, each accompanied by their human partner. Among them was Dr. Miller with her partner, Storm, who had been crucial in understanding the science behind the bonding process. "Over the next 6 months," Dr. Miller explained, "you'll learn everything we've discovered. The electromagnetic language, the bonding process, the shared consciousness. But most importantly, you'll learn to see beyond your fears." The Academy's first day was filled with questions, demonstrations, and the beginning of understanding. The alien students watched in amazement as humans and shadow stalkers moved as one, their bonds allowing perfect coordination and communication. By sunset, something remarkable happened. A young Florin, no taller than Jack's knee, made first contact with a baby shadow stalker. The tiny alien showed no fear, and the young predator responded with gentle curiosity. Their electromagnetic fields synchronized naturally, starting the process that would lead to a bond. "See," Jack said to the watching class, "size doesn't matter. Species doesn't matter. What matters is the willingness to understand and be understood." Thunder rumbled in agreement, his field pulsing with approval. Around the academy, other shadow stalkers began approaching the alien students, testing, exploring, looking for potential partners. Council member Bright, who had stayed on Haven as the Academy's official Galactic Council advisor, watched it all with wonder. "You humans," he said to Jack, "you never cease to amaze me. You've turned the galaxy's greatest predators into teachers." Jack smiled, feeling Thunder's amusement through their bond. "That's the thing about humans," he said. "We don't just tame the untamable. We help others do it too. Because in the end, the galaxy is better when we all understand each other." 1 year after the opening of the Beastmaster Academy, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Jack Stone stood on the observation deck of Haven's newest building, watching ships come and go from the busy spaceport below. Thunder lounged beside him, both of them feeling content through their bond. On the landing pads, they could see shadow stalkers helping dock ships, their electromagnetic fields guiding vessels safely to the ground better than any computer system. "Message from the frontier colonies," Administrator Wells said, walking onto the deck. "The first group of graduated Beastmasters is doing amazing work out there." Jack nodded, remembering their former students. The Florin who had made first contact now led exploration teams with her shadow stalker partner, their small size perfect for scouting unknown planets. The Luminarian had become a skilled emergency responder, working with his bonded partner to save lives during natural disasters. "Any word from the deep space mission?" Jack asked. Wells smiled. Even better, they're here to report in person. The observation deck's door opened again. Tom, one of their first graduates, walked in with his shadow stalker partner, Eclipse. Both looked tired but excited. "You won't believe what we found out there," Tom said, activating a holographic display. "Remember how we thought shadow stalkers were just on Haven? Well, they're everywhere. They've been hiding on hundreds of worlds, waiting for someone to understand them." The display showed images from distant planets, shadow stalkers of different sizes and colors, some adapted to ice worlds, others to desert planets. All of them had started reaching out once they learned about the bonds formed on Haven. "The galaxy wasn't ready for them before," Jack said, feeling Thunder's agreement through their bond. "But they were always ready for us." A group of Academy students passed below the observation deck. Humans and aliens walked together, each paired with a shadow stalker. They were learning not just to bond, but to work together in ways that used everyone's strengths. Council member Bright, now a permanent resident of Haven, joined them on the deck. "The Council has officially recognized Beastmasters as essential personnel for all frontier operations," he announced. "No new colony will be established without at least one bonded pair." Thunder's electromagnetic field pulsed with pride. Through their bond, Jack saw his partner's vision of the future. A galaxy where no shadow stalker had to hide, where their strength could be used to protect and help rather than inspire fear. "We've got applications from 30 more species wanting to join the Academy," Wells added. "And the shadow stalkers are still coming. Every week, we make contact with new groups who've heard about Haven." Jack watched as a team of bonded pairs took off in a scout ship. Human, alien, and shadow stalker working as one, heading out to explore the unknown together. It was more than just taming dangerous creatures. It was about building bridges between all forms of life. "You know what the best part is?" Tom said, scratching Eclipse behind her ear scales. "Every species brings something new to the bonds. The Florans can sense plant life through their shadow stalkers. The Luminarians share crystal memories. We're not just teaching them, we're learning too." Thunder stood up, stretching his massive form. Through their bond, he shared a memory of their first meeting, when a curious human chose to understand rather than fear. That one choice had changed the galaxy forever. "That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy," Jack said, putting his hand on Thunder's side. "Not that we can tame dangerous creatures, but that we can show others how to turn fear into friendship. Every bond makes the galaxy a little bit smaller, a little more connected." As Haven's sun set, casting golden light across the colony, humans, aliens, and shadow stalkers gathered in the central plaza for the evening meal, a tradition that had spread from Earth to the stars. Electromagnetic fields glowed and pulsed in harmony as different species shared stories, dreams, and friendship. The most dangerous predators in the galaxy had become its greatest protectors, all because one species chose to understand rather than fear. In the end, that was humanity's true strength. Not the power to tame, but the wisdom to trust, the courage to understand, and the heart to make family out of feared strangers.